Hey, welcome back to Score on Business. Remember, check out scorenashville.org. And I'm very excited about our next guest. Christy Pruitt-Haynes is an expert on building high-performance teams. She is a speaker, executive coach, consultant, and trainer focused on extracting the power of heterogeneous teams.
Yes.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And, you know, before we get into that, as I had mentioned to you, one of the few things I remember from grad school all those years ago is that heterogeneous teams perform better. What does that mean? What does that mean?
Of course, and grad school wasn't that long ago. Let's say,
okay.
You know, a year or two tops.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes,
yeah.
that's the story I stick to. So heterogeneous teams are really about having different skill sets, different work styles, and different backgrounds coming together. A lot of people sometimes think that requires or deals exclusively with race or gender or things like that. It's really about having complementary skills and making sure everybody who's on that team excels at something different. When you have that, then the team overall is going to be able to accomplish more because you have an expert in multiple different areas who can enhance each other.
That is a theme like that comes up on this show over and over.
Yes.
So tell us about a client you've worked with and what you have achieved.
Sure. So one person who comes to mind pretty quickly, I actually met her at a seminar I was giving on mentorship at an organization. They brought me in to talk about starting their mentor program, and she approached me after and worked there as an art director, was a graphic designer, but had this desire to become an entrepreneur and to go out on her own and sort of hang her own shingle. And a lot of people aspire to that for different reasons. So she and I worked together for quite a number of months, focused a lot on, first, if entrepreneurship was right for her, because the reality is for some people it's great. For others, this may not be the path. You have to have a certain risk tolerance. You have to have a lot of skills that are different from being successful in that 9-to-5 sort of corporate job.
It's very different.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we talked about that first before we spent too much time kind of getting into the nuts and bolts of it. From that point, we really planned out what services she wanted to offer, who her ideal customer was, how she should structure her pricing, which is huge for entrepreneurs. And then we talked a little bit about building out her bench, which a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about. They think I'm a solopreneur is sort of the word that you hear a lot. So they feel like they have to wear all of the different hats. But what we really talked about is, while this is going to be your own organization, what complementary services do you need? Do you need someone doing the accounting for you, because that's not your skill set? So we talked a little bit about not just focusing on one thing, but making sure you still have all of the services you need. It may not be as an employee, but it could be contracting certain things out. So, and those were some concepts she hadn't thought of. And then we really worked very specifically on the skills that she needed to develop to transition from that 9-to-5 sort of mentality to that entrepreneurial mindset, which is very different and sometimes can be a bit of a hurdle for people to get over. The result of all of that is about 18 months after she made that leap, left her job, and really hung her own shingle, she now has 4 other people working under her, which is wonderful. And for 2017, she managed to bill more than 200% than she anticipated that she would.
That's phenomenal.
It was a huge jump. It was a lot of work. I don't want to make light of the amount of work she did and the work that we did together, but it's been very successful. So I can't wait to see what happens next.
Well, of course, she did the work, but and hear you talk about your approach with her. It matches with the best practices that I know of for entrepreneurs.
Thank you.
So how does diversity contribute to organizational excellence?
It's essential. And to go back to your first question a little bit about heterogeneous teams, again, with diversity, so many people get caught up in black and white or male or female, or now you hear a lot about the different generations, so millennials versus baby boomers and etc. And all of those things are relevant and have a place, but the real value of diversity lies in having diverse skill sets. mindsets. So just
Right.
a quick example I like to give that helps people really understand. If you imagine that you're on a game show and you don't know what the answer is, and you're about to win $1 million if you can get this last question right, and you have a couple of people that you can call. One is your best friend. You grew up next to each other, you went to school together, you were best man or maid of honor in each other's wedding, all of that. So really you've had a very similar life. The other person is just a random person maybe you met in a coffee shop and struck up a conversation with, but they are very much your opposite in every way. So if you're older, they're younger. If you grew up rich, they grew up poor. So you've really walked different lives. When it comes time to think about who am I going to call to get the answer to this question so I can win the $1 million, a lot of people's gut reaction is to call their best friend,
Right.
because they've always been there for you. The reality is, because that person has had pretty much the same life you've had, if you don't know something, how likely is it that they're going to know it? You
Right.
read from the same books. So if you reach out to someone who's your opposite, they've learned different things, had different
And
experiences.
they're very likely to know
Exactly.
what you don't.
That's where your $1 million
Yeah.
comes from. And that's how it applies to the workplace, having those
Okay.
diverse backgrounds.
So we need to take a break for a moment.
Absolutely.
So ladies and gentlemen, we will be right back. Thank you.